And yo, the Sports Bag Bros podcast is on. This is Thursday, the second time we've been on. We're usually on 2 times a week anyway, Mondays and Thursday. This week, because of MLK, it was Tuesday and Thursday. Nevertheless, we're going into a weekend which in the NFL may be the most important weekend of the season outside of the Super Bowl, because these two games that are coming up on Sunday, they're going to determine who goes to the Super Bowl. The Washington Redskins are going to Philadelphia to take on the Eagles, and the Buffalo Bills are going to Kansas City to take on those Chiefs who haven't looked spectacular all year long, but still only has 2 losses. What's up?
What's happening? The last week's shows, I was excited talking about how I was looking forward to the football on the weekend, and lo and behold, I'm still excited. I'm
Yeah.
excited for this weekend's games. You know, the big bash or clash seemed to be the Ravens and Bills, and it really didn't disappoint. Unless you're a Ravens fan, the turnovers, of course, and the drop 2 point conversion disappointed you.
Yeah.
But as far as a matchup, and a 2 point game coming down to the last couple of minutes, it didn't disappoint. But now this weekend, you got Josh Allen trying to get over the hump and beat Mahomes in the playoffs. He's beaten them several times in the regular season,
Yep.
but never in the playoffs. And Jayden Daniels trying to build upon the greatest
Oh.
rookie season a quarterback has ever had. But with all of that said, I gotta go in on that one idiot that didn't vote for Ichiro for the Baseball Hall
Oh
of Fame.
man, you know what? We didn't talk about baseball pitchers and catches the next
We
month.
never talk baseball hardly ever, maybe World Series playoff time,
During the baseball season, we talk a
but
bit about some baseball,
we
but
gotta
not like
talk
we did
about
that with
Ichiro
football.
getting screwed.
But Ichiro, man, we got to get to that. Do we get to it now, or we can wait for it later? Because the NFL
Right,
reigns
we'll get
supreme,
to it.
and in the off season, we're talking about right now. Well, it's not the off season; they're in the postseason, looking forward to a Super Bowl. We're talking about. You mentioned Josh Allen. I think it's a matter of maturation. Some players mature slower than others. Circumstances have to come together. Things have to work themselves out mysteriously or otherwise. Patrick Mahomes pretty much walked into doing what he's doing, and he's that special talent that was able to do it. I think it took Allen a little bit of time, but I think he's here. He's not even at his prime, but he happens to be here, and we can see how dynamic he is. Not only because as a football player, he's a quarterback that's a football player. He reminds me a lot of what John Elway used to be. You can worry about him running, but you have to worry about him passing. But I think it's even more so. He's not as fast as Elway, but he's a brutal runner that you really have to account for when he runs. And then on top of that, I was making comparisons between he and Lamar Jackson. Lamar with 41 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. We know Lamar runs; he almost had 1,000 yards. But Josh Allen, who's bigger, does a lot of the same and had more touchdowns. 12 touchdowns on the season, rushing.
Yeah, I think Joe Brady and his play calling has really helped Josh Allen. Um, they have a balanced offense. They're able to get the running game going with James Cook, and everything's not on Josh Allen's shoulders. He doesn't have to throw for 350 yards
Nope.
and 4 touchdowns. But when they get down close to the goal line, you got that big hoss behind center. He gets carries, whereas Lamar Jackson's handing the ball off to Derrick Henry for the
Yep.
most part. So that's probably why he gets more touchdowns. I'm sure Lamar had more explosive plays, longer runs, flashier. He's quicker. But as you mentioned, Josh Allen is bigger and he can be a load, man. He runs hard. He doesn't often slide. Those he sees those little DBs coming back. He's like, come on, come and tackle me. He doesn't slide for those little dudes. So Josh Allen is a problem. But I tell you what, Vegas didn't do them any favors. They made the Bills a 1.5 point favorite. And if Kansas City's searching for motivation other than going for three in a row, they have to feel disrespected. We're defending two-time champs playing at home, and we're underdogs. Are you calling me an underdog? I mean, I'm sure that would piss me off. So
No,
I can imagine. I'm sure Andy Reid's using it in the locker room. Um, they need all the motivation they can get, and that's just a little bit more ammunition they were given.
yeah, but I think there's some reason behind it, and it's because of the way Kansas City has been playing. As I already mentioned in the beginning, they're doing all of this winning, but it's like barely winning. I know in the NFL, winning is extremely hard. If you listen to Bill Parcells in the past, he'll tell you you are who you are, and that your record is who it says you are, regardless of how you win. As long as you get that W at the end of the day, and they've been doing that, but it's been so grimy against bad teams, against good teams. They've been squeaking it out. Now they did beat Pittsburgh in Pittsburgh. They pretty much embarrassed them, but then they struggled against Carolina, and we had issues with Carolina all year. Bryce Young and the entire crew. They go to Carolina, they squeak it out there. And the next week they play another team and they're squeaking it out
Trav,
there. They're just
Trav,
winning.
Trav. I've told you many times. I told you at the
I
beginning of
know
the
it's coming.
season. Told you in the beginning of the season, it's hard to get motivated for these non-playoff games. But wait till the end of the season. Yeah, if you're the Chiefs, do you really care about beating the Panthers? Is that a game that you really care about?
But
Is beating the Titans, the Steelers, whoever? Is that a game you really care
but
about?
but you know what? This past season in particular, Carolina was so bad that even in cruise control, it should have been somewhat of a blowout. They were that bad at that point. But I see where you're coming from, and they still got the win, and that's what counts. I did see an article talking about Kansas City's grimy wins, and that is what it is, grimy wins. They had a close call, and I know it's an AFC West game. Those games are typically closer against the Raiders. This is a bad Raiders team whose coach was fired because he's not a good coach, and they struggled against him. The only team that really is good outside of them were the Chargers.
I hear you, but again, those games don't mean anything to the Chiefs. They're all about the playoffs. They're all about championships. They don't care about week 3, week 5, week 6, 7, 8, 9. They don't care. They care now, and they're going to be a tough out.
But at the same time, if the playoffs do matter, and of course they do matter, especially if they want a three-peat for the first time in the Super Bowl era, they didn't necessarily beat the crap out of the Texans. The Texans were a decent team. And CJ Stroud, for all intents and purposes, had taken steps back this season, but he still got to the playoffs. And he did play okay. In fact, he played fairly well. And they still struggled against them until they just pulled it off. And of course, now everyone is talking about, or they've been talking about, all of these calls that Kansas City is getting. And now we're talking about Hunt's granddaughter or daughter talking about how Tom Brady needs to be quiet or there's going to be a lawsuit filed about the calls. That it's insane what is going on. That he better shut up and apologize because he's talking about that the refs probably have something to do with the wins, and she's getting all of her feelings about it. But nevertheless,
Tom Brady's the last guy that should be throwing shade at somebody about
this
referees.
is
He
new
gets
age stuff though
all
that
kind of
we've been
calls.
seeing with Mahomes. This has been new age. Tom Brady did get calls. This nonsense that we're seeing with Mahomes, I didn't necessarily believe it
Yeah,
too
I
much.
mean,
Last
he
week, you
got
just couldn't
calls.
hide from
He
it.
got calls against the Chiefs. Poor Chris Jones smacks him across the chest. They call pass interference that he hit him in the head. That was bogus. I mean, Tom Brady got the same calls, if not more, than Mahomes gets.
Well, I don't know because I can't
I
say
just
more
told
eyes are
you.
on it now. I'm saying more eyes are on it right now, but shoot, more eyes were on it back then as well. I just happened to see it and it was so clear. And I hate to say that the refs are doing it intentionally. I don't think it's intentional what they're doing. I just think that it's just bad calls. And these are supposed to be the best of the best. When you get to the playoffs, this is supposed to be the better refs. And of course, the Super Bowl are the best refs, allegedly based on ratings. And these calls are egregious. We just talked about it on Tuesday when
Yeah,
those two players missed Mahomes. They hit each other, and
yeah.
there
The
was a
second one
penalty.
was totally bogus.
Craziness, man.
You can't be scrambling around and be like, oh shit, here they come, and just go down and call it a slide. And then they totally miss him and hit each other, and that's a penalty. That was
Like,
bogus.
like
I
Trevor
mean,
Lawrence.
I'm not denying that there are some questionable calls. I'm just saying Tom Brady's not one to be speaking on it.
Yeah, well, he shouldn't be getting sued over it. Come on for
Well,
bringing
that
it
too.
up.
Yeah, he
He's
shouldn't, but
crazy for
no.
saying something like that. But yeah, I mean, now Buffalo, we're looking at this. This is just as exciting as it was last week, only because we're now a step closer to the Super Bowl. By the next time we come on Monday, we will know who the two participants in the Super Bowl are going to be. And it looks like the way it's set up, those are going to be exciting games. Washington and Philly getting together, is it more about the excitement or is it more about Jayden Daniels doing what he's doing, making people kind of forget about what Dan Marino had done? He done it in his second year. he has a chance to go to
Mhm.
his Super Bowl in his first year, the first
What
time in NFL history.
what year was Brady in when Bledsoe got hurt and they went?
Oh man, that was 90. Oh, 90. Yeah, 2003,
Like the Tuck rule year.
2002, 2003, or 2004, somewhere around there. God, I
I
can't
don't
remember.
know. No, but I mean not what year, but what year was he in?
Oh, well,
Was it
I think that was his second year.
oh, okay. Because I thought he was a rookie
Because
back
I remember
then.
complaining back then after I saw how he turned out to be. Because when Drew Bledsoe got knocked out of the game by Mo Lewis of the Jets, I was like, yeah. I mean, you don't want to talk about a player getting hurt and be rooting for it. I'm just
You
like, yeah,
thought
he was the one causing all the problem. Get him
you
out of
thought
there.
he had a
Put Tom
W.
Brady in there. I've seen enough of Tom Brady in college to know that he was solid. There's a fifth round draft pick for a reason that he gets in there. And then now we're talking about him like all these years later, like,
And he
bro,
never came
Mo
out.
Lewis, you're the worst Jet we ever knew. Come on, man. You used to be a fan favorite. But Tom, and I remember it's back then though, I was like, yo, after Tom played the way he started playing, I was like, yo, Bill Belichick, is he really that great a coach? You saw this dude in practice every day, and you didn't even make a competition or give him some time. I know how it's different, a dynamic in the NFL as opposed to college, but man, night and day difference, man. Going to the freaking Super Bowl.
Yeah, no kidding. So about the Chiefs and Bills, you know, the way the result of that game could have so many implications, man. Again, I'm predicting if the Chiefs go to the Super Bowl and win it, Andy Reid retires. But if they lose, does he still retire?
I think
I think that that could have an effect on his mindset. And I don't profess to know what he's thinking. I just think after the grind of winning three straight and it never being done, Andy Reid will come to the conclusion like, what else can I do? I'm gonna go out on top.
I can see that happening. That would be the best scenario for him and for Kansas City Chiefs fans, or not best scenario for them because they would want him to stay and try to go for four. But I also
Right?
see it from he can lose that game and still be overtaken by the grind it took to go to three straight Super Bowls. And even if they're 2-1, it's not like what Buffalo had done going to four straight and losing all four
Right.
and wait on the old Marv Levy. I'm thinking that if he has just going to the third one and losing it, he can leave well enough alone, know that he has all these rings, walk into the sunset. The Hall of Fame is waiting for him. I wouldn't even be
Mhm.
surprised if they say, you know what, let him wait 2 years instead of 5. Get him in there. For real, he's done enough.
Yeah. And then on the other side, if Buffalo, if you're Josh Allen, like if you don't beat Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes this year, are you ever going to beat him? Maybe next year you go up against Burrow and Burrow beats you,
Yep,
or a rematch with Lamar Jackson and Lamar Jackson beats you. Maybe you don't get a rematch with Patrick
that's
Mahomes.
what I was thinking too. But
Um, it just so many factors, man. Can be affected by
but
the
will
result on Sunday.
yeah, including if they lose the game, Brady himself leaving and going to become a head coach somewhere else.
Joe Brady, right?
Joe Brady, yeah, going across and being a coach somewhere else. We're looking at how things have happened just in the past couple of days with these coaches that are getting jobs. Detroit's whole coaching staff is pretty decimated. The offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator are now gone. Aaron Glenn
Mhm.
taking the job with the Jets, which I did not want, and it's for different reasons. I didn't want him on the Jets because he is a Jets legend for all Jets who know of him. Coming out of Texas A&M, I remember him. Great, great Jet. Didn't win a championship, but still a great, great Jet. I hate having him coming home knowing he's going to get fired one day. That's what's going to happen. He's going to get fired. 3 years, 4 years, whatever it is, he's going to get fired. I doubt it would end in a Super Bowl. He's going to ultimately get fired. I don't like seeing our guys, our legendary. It's like Joe Namath firing him. If he became a coach, I don't want
what
not as big, but come on, man. I
what
just like Aaron Glenn that much. I wish he would have gone somewhere else, but I'll deal with it. And besides, we
what
needed an offensive guy. We already had defensive guys.
what pick in the draft do they have?
Oh man, shoot. You know what? I haven't even taken the time out to see what they're picking in the
Because
draft yet.
they need a quarterback.
Bro,
Aaron
we have
Rodgers is a disappointment.
oh
I
man,
don't see how he can ever get back to what he was. It's all downhill from here.
that's it. Regardless of where he goes, if he goes somewhere else, I doubt that he's going to do what Tom Brady did. Tom Brady just left New England, came down to Tampa, won a Super Bowl down there. I don't think that Aaron Rodgers is in that position physically. let alone anything else. Physically, he can't do it because I've seen too many games of him staring like he's watching bad television and then throwing it to the wrong guy or just not throwing it at all or just an errant pass.
And they
Things
traded
I've
for
never
his
seen.
guy. They traded for his guy, and the
All of
offense
his
still
guys.
didn't
I
improve.
mean, he took less money, so those guys could come. And then at the end or near the end of the season, you bring in Adams, and they work well together, but still same result. Loss after loss, just a toxic environment, maybe even a toxic freaking management and ownership or whatever organization as a whole. I've been seeing it for as long as I've been watching football. The Jets only have pleased me to a degree back in '98 when they were just a game from the Super Bowl, up 10-0 at halftime against Denver. And of course, Keith Byers and Dave Meggett don't know how to hang on to a ball anymore. And then Terrell Davis and John Elway go back, and then the rest is history. Actually, they went. That was the first time, and the rest is history. But going back to these coaches now, there are Trent Baalke, GM, not coach, but GM of the Jaguars. We talked about, I think, even last year or even, wow, the year before, mentioned him in terms of how people did not want to play for him. Byron Leftwich in particular. Byron Leftwich was all but coming to the Jaguars. Former player, loved it here, wanted to get his first head coaching job, coming off of that Super Bowl with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Trent Baalke was the reason why he doesn't take the job. It was said, but Shad Khan, the owner, didn't listen. And then you have all of these other coaches who now at this point, first of all, he hires Urban Meyer when no one else was looking to hire him as a professional coach. And then all these other things he's done. And then looking back at what he had done and how he destroyed the San Francisco 49ers before he came. But then all these coaches are having interviews with him and decided not to take the job. In Tampa Bay, the offensive coordinator, he says, you know what, I'd rather stay an offensive coordinator than become a head coach. It is because of him. And then Shad Khan starts connecting the dots. But wait a minute. I don't think people like this guy. You get rid of him, but everybody else is gone. You look at what Ben Johnson just did. As soon as the Detroit Lions lost, bro, Chicago snatched him up right there. Do you
Right.
want to have Trevor Lawrence or you want to have Caleb Williams? One is a proven entity. Caleb Williams is still a rookie. He's looking like he's progressing properly. But I think you want to fast track. And you know you have an owner who's willing to spend the money. That's what they have here in Jacksonville. And he just decided to go with the Chicago Bears, staying in the division.
Well, there's there's talk that he really likes Chicago, the city. He talked about in his press conference how he and his family goes to they go to Cubs games every summer, and people, I'm not gonna say close to him, but people who know him who came on the radio saying that he really loves Chicago, and Chicago was always his number one destination, and having the quarterback helps. So it was never do I want Caleb Williams or do I want Trevor Lawrence thing or do I want this guy? It was I love Chicago and they have Caleb Williams, so that's where I want to go.
Well, easy to say now. I don't know, but hell, he's there. And the speed in which he became the Chicago Bears coach. I mean, come on, man. What was it? The post fight, the post game conference? He became the coach then after they freaking lost. What's your first words? Well, I like Chicago. And then he's out. And that's how
you,
quick it
you
happened.
know what's crazy? I'm sure you heard Eddie George had an interview.
I heard about that.
So there's a conspiracy that when the Lions lost Saturday night, the Bears management came to the conclusion we haven't satisfied the Rooney Rule. We better interview somebody. So they interviewed Eddie George, and then they went and hired Ben Johnson.
Yeah, but wasn't there also talk about the Bears trying to get Mike Tomlin? I remember seeing that rumor. I was like, bro, Mike Tomlin to the Bears? That would be
I
insane.
saw reports that they reached out asking would they be willing
A
to trade,
trade.
and they were rejected. So does that qualify for satisfying the Rooney Rule?
And
I
no,
don't
no, that
know,
was just a rumor, I guess. They'll tell you it's
but
a rumor. That
I'll tell
wasn't a
you
real
what.
interview.
I watched his press conference, Ben Johnson, and I hope I'm wrong, man, but he comes off to me as a very good bullshitter. They
What
asked
you
him
mean?
questions, and he said what he wanted to say, but didn't really answer the question. And then he made a face like, "That's my answer." Next,
Politician.
but, like I said, he's a good bullshitter. everybody on Chicago radio, they were very impressed. They say he won the press conference. They liked his presence. I thought he seemed a bit nervous. Um,
It's the
I
biggest
don't
job of
know.
his life.
Maybe it's just me thinking, just because he's a really good offense coordinator doesn't mean he's going to be a great head
North
coach.
Turner.
And that's true. So I'm reserving my excitement. So maybe I'm just seeing things that possibly aren't there, or I'm seeing it differently than other people. I just have questions. I don't know. Everybody's saying they were so impressed. I wasn't that impressed. Again, I did like some of the things he said, but when the guy from Detroit went on Chicago radio and talked about his confidence and him having this presence, I didn't see it. I didn't see him having a very strong presence. That's just me. I don't know.
Maybe they're wishing it into existence. They just, but oh man, how you really
I mean,
gauge this guy?
he did tell the players, there were some players in attendance. He goes, I want you guys to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. I'm going to challenge you. I'm going to
Mike Ditka
I'm
coming in
going
the house.
I'm going to push you. So when he spoke to the players, I think maybe his that was more of him as opposed to when he was talking to the media and answering their
Yeah.
questions, where he was doing the politically right thing or whatever.
Hmm.
So maybe he was holding back with the media.
Well, luckily he can say what he wants, and there's not a transfer portal for the people who didn't like to hear
Like
it.
one question was, you know, this GM came and they had a quarterback already, and then the next GM came and they had a quarterback already, and now you're coming in and they already have the quarterback. How are things going to be different with you? And I'm thinking of Ditka. Ditka would have been like he would have shut that down. Look, I don't know what those guys did, but I'm here now. I don't
Yep.
care what happened there. But he just said, I'm gonna come in with a plan. We're gonna change the culture, and I just I wanted to see him shut that shit down, but he didn't. He
Maybe
just
once he gets
answered it the
comfortable,
way he wanted to answer it.
when he gets more comfortable, you'll probably start seeing more of his personality. When he's talk to more often, you'll start seeing him, because right now everybody has their Sunday best on. And when you finally
That's true.
start seeing him over and over and over, when things start going well, or you start losing things in the off season, players probably leaving, free agents or otherwise, or even the draft picks coming in and whatnot. And then you got the Chicago media. I mean, I'm thinking that it's a major media city, so they could probably put a little pressure on him that he may not like, ask the questions he may not
I
like,
don't
and
know,
you'll hear more of himself.
like they asked certain questions, but like when he didn't answer it, there was no follow up
Oh,
or
they let
like,
him off the hook.
come on, give me an answer. There was no follow up. They just accepted what he said.
So
I
what do you
told you
think?
before, Chicago media is not that tough.
Yeah, I just take it for granted, man. The Chicago, the third largest market in the country.
Oh, they could kill you on the radio, but when at press conferences and they're asking you questions,
Yeah,
they're not that tough.
because I just automatically think of the New York press, the Philly press, the Boston press. I mean, those dudes just come after you, man. They just get after you. They don't even care what else is going on. They're just going to get after you. They don't let you off the
Oh,
hook.
and then he was talking about what the offense was going to look like, and he said, "Here's a name for you, a blast from the past." He said John Shoop. I was like, "No, not John Shoop. We hated John Shoop here in Chicago. No." I was
John
like, "Oh,
Shoup.
you gotta be kidding me. He did not
Refresh
just say
my memory with John
John
Shoup.
Shoop. He was an OC, and the Bears struggled offensively when he was here."
Man, what year was that? The 80s or the 90s?
Nah, I want to say when Erlacher and Briggs
Oh, man. Yeah,
were
well,
playing defense, and they'd be losing 10-3 late in or early in the fourth quarter, and then the game would get away from them because the defense been on the field for 45 minutes.
yeah,
They
man.
get tired, and people were trying to kill the defense. Like, man, you can't kill the defense. They held them. They were out there for 75 plays as opposed to the offense who was out there for 30. Come
Tight as
on, man.
hell. So what do you think? I mean, I'm wondering, what do you think about him with Detroit overall building this kind of team so quickly? And is it really him, or is it just fate, or is it all the plays? Defensively, things fell apart because guys just got injured a lot. But I'm just wondering when you talk about Detroit, we know what Detroit's history is. Even with Barry Sanders, it was nice and prolific offensively, but it was more of a gimmicky run and shoot. And even when they went to the I formation, it was more Barry getting his 2,000 yards and Detroit still being Detroit. But for these past couple of years, though, this team has been better than it's ever been. I mean, in recent memory, modern football. So, how much did he have to do with the success of that team, other than being the offensive coordinator? Because you can go to be an offensive coordinator in Chicago. They did bring players in last year. I still say they made the most splash moves in the offseason for a rookie quarterback. So he's coming into this second year quarterback. The biggest leap you're going to make is probably your first and your second year.
So one thing he said was the Bears roster is very talented. He, I'm paraphrasing, but he said he was more concerned with the Bears than any other team in the division when the season started.
We did
I
too.
said,
We thought he would. We thought they were going to do something offensively, in particular. I
but
thought
we
the
didn't think they were better than the Packers.
Oh, nah, not better. But we thought that Minnesota would be the odd team out because
We
we
did
did
what
say that
you did because you didn't trust
Sam
Sam
Darnold. Come
Darnold.
on, man.
And
First
I,
of all,
I
JJ
I
McCarthy,
told
then
you
Sam
pump
Darnold.
the
Like,
brakes,
come
pump
on.
the brakes. But anyway, I don't know if he was saying that to boost his current players. I mean, his new players on the current roster, or ingratiate himself to the Chicago media. But I'm like, really? That seems to be like a head scratcher to me. But it let everybody else, on YouTube and on Chicago radio say they said he worked wonders with Jared Goff. So
He
let's see what.
did.
So let's see what. But was it really him?
You know what? I'm thinking, was it really Jared Goff, even though we saw what Jared Goff was doing, or was it that ridiculous running game that took so much pressure off him? Sometimes he just had to throw darts. That
Yeah,
running
we'll
game was
see.
really overwhelming
He
between
doesn't have
Montgomery and Gibbs.
he doesn't have Montgomery and Gibbs.
That's what I was going to bring
Um,
up. Yeah,
we'll
because
see.
I
I
still
saw
don't believe in Jared
a
Goff.
mock draft that had the Bears taking Genty. I'm like, I don't know.
Bro, you know
I don't
what?
know about that,
He plays
but
in the cold in Boise. He knows how to play in the cold. And
maybe. But if he's running to a pile of bodies,
they better do something to that offensive line, man.
right?
But that dude's a special back, man. I mean, I think he's one of those generational running backs. Even when McCaffrey was coming out, I thought McCaffrey would be good. But great, I was wondering, okay, I wonder if because the Pac 12 you don't give a lot of credit to, but we see right now this dude is a great player when he's healthy. But Ashton,
Mm.
man, he just has that special quality to him. Now, don't always trust me because I thought Melvin Gordon was that kind of player too, coming out of Wisconsin. Because after he ran through Auburn the way he did, I'm like, yeah, he's ready. Ready for what? My man doesn't even have it. He hasn't had a special season yet. But I think Ashton Genty would be a nice move for Chicago if they can get him because they have everything else. But also, isn't Keenan Allen leaving, or is there a contract for him, or do you think he stays if there is an opportunity for an extension? Does he
I
just
think
become a
he's
free
going
agent,
to
look
have to
around?
take a. I think he's going to have to take a pay cut if he
He's not
does
doing it.
stay with Chicago.
That guy isn't
But
doing
he's
it.
going to be 33. How much money do you want to pay a
Yeah.
33-year-old wide receiver? So I don't believe he'll be back.
Well, but it's still. I think it's because remember it took him some time to really come up to speed anyway in Chicago as a wide receiver. So
Yeah,
it
I
wasn't
think
like
the
he's.
first game they threw him a pass and he came up limping. He had a foot problem, so then he was either limited or he missed like 2 or 3 games. I think early in the season. And
Yeah.
then he came back. Yeah, it took him a while to get his groove.
Trying to get it going. Exactly. And back then the Bears was looking like they were still doing something a little bit inconsistency, but you can still throw that to saying a rookie quarterback. But they were showing some glimpses and some not so glimpses, but that's what you
They were
expect from a
four
rookie
and two,
quarterback.
man.
Hey,
They were four
four and
and two.
two. Hey, so I guess the first 6 games, hey, you're doing well. The projection looks like damn, this NFC North is something else. And then the bottom fell out. But that's still more coaching. And until we get to see Ben Johnson as the head guy implementing, and I think you mentioned on Tuesday, is he going to be making the calls, or he's going to bring in an offensive coordinator and still make the calls, or just sit back and be the overseer?
So he said he will be calling plays during his press conference yesterday.
Hmm.
So he said his offensive coordinator will have to do a lot of the work early in the week, getting him the information because he has to oversee the whole entire team. He
Yeah.
can't spend all his time with the offense. So he says he's gonna have to find somebody he really trusts, to come up with concepts and watch film and figure out what they want to do. So by the time he comes, I think on Wednesday, he has all this information he can look over and they can install the game plan. I don't know
Well,
if that's easier said than done.
I
We'll
think it
see.
is because you're used. It's easier said than done because he's used to calling the plays, but not used to overseeing. In fact, he probably just allowed coach to just oversee his game plan, and because he was good at what he did, it didn't really need any fine tuning. He kind of trust him to do his job. Now you're used to calling plays, but are you used to overseeing, being the CEO of the football team on
Right.
the field? So
An-
delegating and letting people just do the job they were hired to do.
Another thing he said I really liked is he said, I'm not coming in with this office, this big old playbook and saying, here, learn this playbook. He's like, no, I'm going to sit down with Caleb Williams. We're going to discuss what he likes and we're going to build it from the ground up. So that's something I've never heard from a Chicago coach or offensive coordinator
That seems
before.
like a good thing because Caleb Williams, regardless of how the season turned out, I think he's a promising quarterback. Now everybody's looking at Jayden Daniels as a standard bearer, but Caleb Williams looked pretty solid at moments. I mean, you saw him a lot more than I saw him. So he's had his rookie year. It's the same thing you can say about what um, Peyton Manning went through when he was in Indianapolis throwing all of those picks. No one really talked badly about him because they saw the upside. I think that can be the case here. Now that you have an offensive guy who can add to what Caleb has already brought and make him a better quarterback, and see if that 1 year to the second year could be that leap that usually is the biggest leap that a player normally takes.
Right. That remains to be seen. But I think Ben Johnson, he does have a good head on his shoulders, and what from what he's saying, I do like what he's saying and what his plan is, especially offensively and building the offense and the playbook from the ground up. I mean, I'm sure they're not starting out with zero plays, but I get the point he's trying to make. He's not gonna put a try and force a round peg into a square
Yeah,
hole.
man. Well, we'll just have to wait and see how that eventually turn out. We got all off season. Then we still got the draft coming up, and then free agency. What's going to be added? What's going to be lost for at least the Chicago Bears? Everybody, I think, is not everybody, but Bears fans in particular. But I think because of what he had done in Detroit, they'll be looking forward, even if they're not a Bears fan, to what he's going to do in his first year. Some may want to ridicule him. Some may want to confirm that he is that offensive genius. He's not North Turner. He does know how to run a team. It's going to be interesting. Just like it was interesting for me, not being a Bears fan, to see what Caleb Williams ended up doing this year, from afar. Or even overall, looking at those splash plays, those splash moves they made in the offseason to get what they got offensively before things fell apart. And you can still attribute that towards the coaching, because that coach shouldn't have been there to start the season to begin with. So that gives us a chance to jump to
Right.
the other game that's being played, Philadelphia and Washington. Washington going up to Philadelphia against the Eagles and Jalen Hurts. So I'm hearing the defensive coordinator for Washington saying they're going to hit Jalen Hurts like he's a running back on these running plays, on these plays that where he holds the ball. They're going to hit him like a running back. So they're not shying away. He's already banged up, so they want to bang him up some more.
I can't blame him. But is if he's really gimpy, is he really going to hold on to the ball? I mean, if you're running an option and you see the ends crashing, you're supposed to hold on to it. But is he really going to want to run out there, gimpy? And, well, that remains to be seen. But I believe that's what Washington's plan is, like force him to run the ball.
See, I'm looking at him from the standpoint of him still continuing to regress from what he was when he was in the Super Bowl a couple of years ago. And passing wise, he hasn't gotten any better. He's looked like he has gotten worse as a passer. He lucked out by having Saquon Barkley doing what he's done this past season, getting his 2,000 yards and doing what he had done. It takes a lot of pressure off of him. But even with that pressure off of him, he still looks bad when he passes the ball. You would think it would be some kind of a surprise when he passed the ball and the team would be caught off guard because they're so used to stopping the run. Now I think with this kind of a playoff game on the line, everybody just going through the rigors of an NFL season, a longer NFL season at that. Load the box against Saquon, make Jalen Hurts beat you, and I don't think he can do that. That's the reason why I'm going with the freaking rookie. That's why I'm going to take Washington in this game because I do not trust Jalen Hurts at all. I don't think he's that good. I just don't know what happened between what we saw a couple of years ago and now.
Well, it could be. Remember, they lost their offensive coordinator.
Yeah, you know
Maybe,
what?
maybe he just doesn't have the same um, rhythm or confidence in the plays, and who knows? A lot of
And
different things could be going on.
earlier in the season, he and Antonio Brown had their little going back and forth where other teammates were saying, "Well, they used to be friends." Wait a minute, so you're throwing it out there, so you say, "Wait a minute, they're not friends now." There's a problem in that locker room. That's what you start thinking. But then they went on this long winning streak, and here we are now.
So, what did you think about homie reading the book on the sideline?
Bro, it's not exactly Joe Namath with a fur coat eating a hot dog. I don't know. I don't know, man. My man has some reading to catch up on. I don't know what's going on. These dudes
I
do
don't
these
know.
things,
I don't know what to make of it. Like, was he disinterested? Was not worried?
bro. It's
Um,
it's deliberate. Today, with all eyes on everybody, one way or another, you know damn well you're AB as well. If you're reading a book, you know someone's looking at you. You know someone's going to pan over if they have a camera. You know people, the audience are looking, and you know you're going to be on ESPN eventually reading a book. Come on. He knew what he was doing. And I hate that they do these things these days because they know someone is watching.
I don't know. I can't call it, man. Again, I don't know what to make of it, but I'm with you. I'm going with the Redskins also. I think just because Jalen Hurts is gimpy, he's not going to be able to run down the sideline like he did against the Rams.
Yep.
Bust some long runs. He may even aggravate the injury trying to run if they're forcing him to hold on to the ball. And again, to jump on what you said, he hasn't been the best passer. Now that
No.
doesn't mean he can't make plays with his arm. We'll see. But I think Jayden Daniels, he's playing at such a level right now with so much confidence,
Oh, a lot of
and
confidence.
the team
And
has
that
so
team
much
believes.
confidence in
Hmm.
him. And McLaurin is a problem.
He is.
He gets in open space. Watch out. So I'm with the I'm going with you. I'm going along with you with the Redskins.
Man, and you look at Jalen Hurts throughout the season, and you watch those games when they did have a rough time, and when they finally got it back together, they just started winning. They found the winning formula, which was give the ball to Saquon. Don't let him hang on it too much longer. Jalen Hurts, and I mean, Jalen Hurts in that regard. And to think
Yeah,
about what is
are they going
is
to come? Are the Redskins going to come out 52 stack monster?
well, the Commanders. Now that's another thing I wanted to talk about. New ownership, new coach, new everything. And now it's under the Commanders banner. These aren't the Redskins. In the past, we can still say the Redskins, even if Daniel Schneider still owned them, we could say the Redskins. But this is now the Commanders. Now, whatever they do now, yeah, they're Redskin fans from the past, but this is
I
being
can't
done
help
under
it.
the
It just
Commanders
comes out.
banner.
It
This
just
is
comes
being,
out.
you know what I'm saying? Overall, generally speaking, though, in terms of the annals of history, yeah, they're going to say the Commanders. But if for some reason in the near future or even the far away future, they go back to being the Redskins, this isn't going to be the Redskins championship if they win one. It will still be under the Commanders banner. That's crazy. I was just thinking about that today. I was like, man, everything is brand new. This is pretty much a new franchise.
Yeah, that's like the Bears back in the day. I think they were called the Staleys.
Damn.
They got a championship under the Staleys back in like the 20s or something.
God, man, the leather helmet really was tight on their head. The Jets used to be the Titans. Come on, so hey,
Really?
yeah. When they first came, they used to be the Titans. So when the Tennessee Titans came, I was like, they stole the Jets' old name. What's going on with that? But yeah, but anyways, yeah, but that's just Jalen Hurts, the numbers wise, 18 touchdowns for the season. Now, as far as the running part, he did run well. The tush push really helps as well. 14
Sure.
touchdowns on the ground. Josh Allen, as I mentioned earlier, has 12 on the ground. But Jalen Hurts, I don't think when all things fail, I don't think he can pass the ball. At least with Josh Allen, when all things fail, you can still worry about him completing passes that matter.
Yeah, I'm not as down on Jalen Hurts as you are. Like if he has to throw the ball 30, 35 times, yeah, the Eagles are
He's
in
done.
trouble. But
Yeah.
they're not gonna have him throw that many times.
Yeah. And with Saquon
Will he
Barkley,
be able to make the third down pass when he needs to do it? That'll be huge.
and Saquon Barkley, you can stop him first down, second down, third down on a few series, and then he makes that one juke, that one cut, and then he's breaking that 60 yarder, 40 yarder, even a 30 yarder if it gets him to the end zone, and those are points on the board. But I think Washington has so much confidence, and they can score in other ways. I mean, Jayden Daniels could run the ball, but he's not known as running the ball, but he still runs the ball. He doesn't run it fast or anything special, but he still gets the freaking yards.
It just came to me. I picked the Packers because I thought that would be the thing against the Bears. When the Bears are trying to improve and get into the playoffs, of course, the Packers go to the Super Bowl. But my my thinking was not wrong because I should have been thinking instead of Caleb Williams performing well in the playoffs, Jayden Daniels is going to perform well in the playoffs. And now Jayden Daniels will go to the Super Bowl and make me feel worse than I already do because he should be my quarterback.
Yeah, you know what? I couldn't say it was a no brainer, but yeah, that Caleb Williams in the beginning when they were talking about how he was the leak of how he did not want to go to Chicago, and it couldn't have been an agent leaking it because he was his own agent at the time. He didn't hire an agent, so he was leaking everything, or people were leaking it for him. And but he ends up going there. He's saying all the right things at the press conferences, and it doesn't sound like he said anything wrong throughout the season. But yeah, Jaden Daniels, I think wherever he had gone, come on, these were the Washington Redskins, man. They've been a laughing stock for a long time. A historic team, a legendary team, but a laughing stock for a long time. And the first year without Daniel Schneider, here they are with a rookie quarterback, the second pick overall for the second year in a row. The second pick is better than the first.
So had the had Washington been a contender last year and somehow had a second pick and picked Jaden Daniels, I probably would have picked them to go to the Super Bowl. But they had the second worst record in the league
Yeah.
last year.
Yep.
They had the second pick. And that they were almost as bad as the Bears. And Jaden Daniels has completely turned them around, man.
And look at the mess
So
they had.
of course, him going to Super Bowl is going to stick it to me just in a way that if the Eagles went, wouldn't.
Man, I tell you, man, but I don't even really know what to say because Jaden Daniels is exceeding expectations. Come on, man. We could have said that 3 weeks ago and been just as right. And he exceeded expectations. He doesn't need to go to a Super Bowl or even win one to exceed the expectations that anyone might have had for him. They're just glad that he's doing it now and they're doing it for their team. But I,
What's crazy is when you think top quarterbacks in the league, all of them are in the AFC. Mahomes, Allen, Jackson, Burrow, even Herbert.
Rogers.
In the NFC, you got to think about it. Okay, well, who is the best quarterback? Right, it's Jaden Daniels,
Yeah,
and
you know
all
what,
those guys in the AFC have to fight each other. Who's going to step up to fight Jaden Daniels year after year?
man?
Caleb
And
Williams, what you gonna do?
young guys, hey, guys from these classes, man, you got a lot of young quarterbacks out there. Even Trevor Lawrence, as many injuries as he had, the Jaguars did a good job of putting guys like Brian Thomas, who was one of the best rookie this year in terms of being a wide receiver, 10 touchdowns, all these yards. I mean, he's going to the Pro Bowl now. He's going to be starting because Zay Flowers is still injured, so he's not going to participate. I mean, the Jaguars did a lot with those kinds of players, but they didn't do anything with that offensive line to keep Trevor Lawrence upright. And for the second year, maybe even third year, Trevor Lawrence is getting roughed up more than he should. But man, there are a lot of young quarterbacks though in the NFL. I'm still waiting for Bryce Young to make a freaking move, man. I mean, it looks like he got a little bit better at the
He
end of the
played
season.
better after getting benched.
Yeah. A
But
little bit. Whew.
what about Purdy and the 49ers? Do they have a bounce back there?
I don't even know what the deal is with Purdy now, man. I was on the bandwagon, still kind of on the bandwagon. Is he who we thought he was because of this past season? I don't know, man. And the running back situation, did that impact him? Well, if the running back situation wasn't that great, that's when the real quarterback step up and shine even more, though. We've seen
Right.
that already. When Roger Craig or Tom Rathman had an issue, well, Joe Montana still did what he did. But he still had Jerry Rice and John Taylor, and Brett Jones. But still, I mean, it was you step up. But I don't know, man. But we'll just get a chance to see how that goes on Sunday. We'll get our Super Bowl participants. Like I said on Monday, we'll talk about that. Obviously, a plethora of other sports going on as well. Going on through the weekend, college basketball still going on right now. They're looking at March Madness pretty much a month and a half from now or less. It's that quick. I mean, we're talking division. We're talking real intense college basketball just for February coming up in about what, a week, 2 weeks, a week and a half, regardless. And then pro basketball, Jimmy Butler suspended 2 games. He doesn't want to be in Miami, man. And
They don't want him on the court neither.
they don't want
But
him on the court.
speak,
Nah.
speaking of college basketball, did you hear what Dan Hurley did?
Oh, when he got thrown out, and then he showed a video of someone else doing the same, or other coaches doing the same, and didn't get thrown out.
No, well, I don't know if he got thrown out in this game, but he was arguing with the ref, or he was in the ref's faces, telling him this,
Or
that,
got
whatever.
reprimanded, not thrown out.
And then the referee said that's enough and turned his back on him. And they say he told him, "Don't turn your back on me. I'm the best fucking coach in the game."
Oh yeah, that's what the ref said.
No, that's
They-
what they told the. Well, he told the ref. The ref turned his back on Hurley. And Hurley's like, "Hey, you don't turn your back on me. I'm the best fucking coach in the game."
Bro, he's won those two in a row, man. He might
That's
be.
a that's some Bobby Knight type shit right
Hell
there.
yeah. Yeah, I thought you were gonna pull some Mr. T. Don't turn your back on me. Will Apollo Creed. Don't turn your back on me, jump. But but right, and Connecticut's losing some games now, man. I mean, yeah, it doesn't really matter as much. They still have a long ways to go before they have to really start winning these games. I don't think they're going to do a three-peat. But Hurley is one of those coaches. But Rick Pitino was still out there too. They just beat Xavier last night as well, and they came from behind to beat him in overtime. So Rick Pitino is still lurking, getting some wins in the Big East. So we'll see who the best coach really is. I think Calipari got his first SEC win at Arkansas. Bro, I love watching this guy not win. I've been calling him a fraud since he left Massachusetts with Marcus Camby and then the cheating Derrick Rose down there in Memphis. I've always said this guy was just an average coach. When he has NBA talent, first round draft pick, number one overall picks, he might win a championship. That should be a guaranteed championship, but he might just win one. But he hasn't done much of anything lately. But either
Every
way,
time, every time I hear the name John Calipari, first thing that comes to mind is Cheney telling him, "I'll kick your ass,
oh, yeah,
kick
John
your
Cheney.
ass."
Woo! Boy, that's my boy John Cheney, man. Back in the day with
He
Temple,
wanted to
Walt
get
Vegas,
at
and the
him,
whole
man.
crew.
He wanted all that smoke.
Cheney boy was a street dude with his tie. That's what he was. Now, before we go, we got to go back to that Ichiro deal, man. What's going on here with Ichiro?
One guy, one idiot didn't
Clown.
vote for Ichiro. What are these voters trying to prove, man? I can understand if it's a stacked class and you got five guys who been on the ballot and it's their year to get in and it's Ichiro's first time. I can understand, you know what? Let's get these guys in before Ichiro. He'll be in next year. But only three guys were voted in.
Billy Wagner was on his last leg.
Right. Yeah. And if come on, man, there's Jeter wasn't unanimous. There's
Mariano
so many
was.
who
Mariano's the only
he's
one.
the only one.
Yeah.
And you think about all the players in history: Roberto Clemente, Mickey Mantle, Willie
Yeah,
Mays.
all of those dudes.
How
In fact,
how are they not unanimous?
man, I think wasn't it Joe DiMaggio wasn't even first ballot, bro.
I don't know.
I mean, that's
But I
insane.
tell
Dude
you
had
what,
13 strikeouts in all of 1941.
as long as these a-holes are unanimous or anonymous,
Yes. Yep.
they're going to vote ridiculously as they always have.
Why is it Anonymous. Why? Let these guys pick, just like you do in politics. Make everybody say what they're going to do, yay or nay, and let it go. Because these clowns like to be the one under the sheets or clandestinely saying, I
And
was
that's the
that
only
guy,
way. That's the
telling
only
their
reason
friends.
they do it because they know they never have to answer for it.
Exactly. I don't know the reason why it's anonymous anyway. I mean, come on now, especially with it should be anonymous, period. But when you get these no-brainer kind of players, in which I don't think CC
I
Sabathia was
mean,
a no-brainer, but I'm glad that he's in for the time he spent with the Yankees last championship. But for him to get in, all up as an aside, for him to get in before Kurt Schilling, get the hell out of town, man. Get out of town with that,
yeah,
Kurt Schilling.
I don't know if I would have voted for CC. I don't know if I would have voted for Billy Wagner, but
No, no, you know what? That's why he was on his last leg. Billy Wagner.
yeah,
There's probably
but
people out there that thought he
but
didn't belong in.
Ichiro, come on, man.
Ichiro's a come on.
The
This
things
dude could
he the things he did, yeah, he wasn't a power hitter, but he hit for high average,
high average, got on the
had
damn
a
base,
cannon for an arm,
steals.
throw you off in the right field corner. Um, yes, throw bases. The dude was an all around great player, man. And I mean, other guys that didn't get in unanimously, Tony Gwynn.
Man, come
I
on,
mean,
man. Stop
right?
playing.
Come on, it's ridiculous.
Babe Ruth
People
didn't get it unanimously, man.
people should have their voting privileges revoked for this
Revoked.
shit,
But we
man.
don't know who it is. We don't know who needs it.
Somebody
Who needs
knows who it is.
Yeah, I know somebody definitely knows, man. Unless they're just putting numbers in a box or something and they're just putting it out there, just a bunch of anonymous. Yes, 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 yes. No. Who did that? Let's take the fingerprint. Something like that. Yeah, it's a joke that it goes down like that. But
But
CC's
he's
in,
in. Congratulations to Ichiro, Wagner, and Sabathia.
it's Sabathia. But
Also,
Ichiro,
let's not forget the other guys, Dave Parker and Dick Allen. They were voted in earlier.
Dave Parker, yeah. Man, Dave
Yeah, it's
Parker.
long overdue for both of
Oh, I'm
those
about to
guys.
say Dave Parker forever, man. I didn't even know it. I ain't gonna lie. I didn't know he wasn't in. This is one of these dudes you thought was in. You hear his name, you're like, okay, he's in. Just keep moving
You
on.
just figured he was in. Like if you
Yeah,
watched him play, yeah, he was a badass.
yeah, absolutely. And then now, well, Kurt Schilling waits. Kurt Schilling still waits. I was thinking Ichiro, based on what he had done in Japan, those numbers, I know they don't translate over, but those numbers is the reason why he came to the major leagues to do it on an even higher level. But he could have gotten in if they wanted to do that. If it was like the International Baseball Hall of Fame, he could, with those numbers, he could have gotten to the Hall of Fame. But he just took off from there, came back over here, and picked up where he left off and done even better against the so-called best players on the planet. Because a lot of those Japanese teams are damn good teams. Holy crap.
Yeah. I mean, we've
Seriously.
seen a lot of good Japanese players
Yeah.
come over. I
Holy
mean, let's think about this. When Otani comes up, is he going to be unanimous?
You know, by then I hope that they make these people make them known instead of
But
being
but
anonymous
if
as they've
anybody
been.
deserves to be unanimous, it's a two-way guy who can shut you down with a
E-
100-mile-an-hour heat
Exactly, that's true.
or take you 480 yards deep to center field.
But they didn't let Babe Ruth in.
Yards, feet,
They
feet. I
didn't do it
mean,
for Babe Ruth. He was pitching too. Not like Otani is doing now, but Babe Ruth was pitching and hitting home runs. And they was like, well, you know what? Not enough for us. That's how pretty much what it came down to. He was the
I don't
face
know,
of
man.
baseball for all those
It
years.
seems like, and it's hard to say this because there was only one guy, but it seems to be like baseball voters are historically haters, man. They just hate certain players for whatever reason.
Curmudgeons. Yeah. Curmudgeons, man. I thought that they would die off and then the younger generation would just correct the ship, but it hasn't happened yet. I think a few more cycles of generations got to come through for that to happen. I guess they're trying to just look up to these old curmudgeons and try to mimic what they're doing and doing the same nonsense, not voting guys in who belong in immediately or voting guys in who deserve to be unanimous. But that seems like it's a long time coming. But in any event, baseball pitchers and catchers is next month. And the freaking Dodgers. I saw an article about Dodger proofing the freaking Major League Baseball. Weren't you talking about that with the Yankees years ago? Now we're talking about it with the Dodgers. Unbelievable.
I'm just saying there should be a cap. That's all.
I think that would solve a lot of
They
everything.
they need they need a maximum cap and a minimum cap for
Yeah.
sorry ass teams like the White Sox and A's. They'll
And
be able
who
to
don't want to
spend some
spend.
money. Right.
Yeah, like they were talking about the Cincinnati Bengals and the Cleveland Browns years ago. Oh, Modell doesn't care. He just cares about getting the money, because they got the revenue sharing. They don't care about. They don't have to make their teams better. Not to mention that Cincinnati was in the Super Bowl 2 times before that argument was made. So they did do something to try to help that team out. It just never worked out for them. But anyway, we're going to shut it down because we'll be back on Monday. And by Monday, as I've already mentioned, we're going to talk about the two teams who will be participating in the Super Bowl. Washington going to Philadelphia, Buffalo going to Kansas City, trying to break the hex. Is it a hex? We'll find out. He's biased. I'm Trav, and the Sports Bag Bros podcast. We'll be back. Be back on Monday.
Monday.
Until then,
Peace.
deuces.